I didn't know much about mining, and I'm not very good in accounting, and I'm certainly bored with administration. But I was quite good in conveying the concept and creating the spirit that bound the people together in a very cohesive team.
I do remember, it had to be in 1981, of course, because that's when I started. He just dressed beautifully, and he was very charming. He's a visionary, and he has brilliant ideas. And so there was always something new happening, and you had to be on your toes the whole time. I could see him inspiring people, because he was excited himself, and it spread to the staff.
The objective was to create something brand new out of nothing and make it the winner, make it the number one, not just in Ontario or Toronto, but make it a winner globally. And because we were so young, and because we were so new, and because they all came from different parts and different companies, we could afford to select the highest quality people, not just in terms of professional competence, but in spiritual commitment.
When I joined, there were about 30 people in the office. Everybody knew everybody, and it was a very close group. There was no HR department in those days. There was just one person doing payroll, and that was about it. And it was a very nice place to work, very nice atmosphere. Everyone worked hard.
I could never recall ever having had an argument in the first 20 years of corporate governance and criticism and salary. It was all about what we can do to win as a team.
Peter established esprit de corps for the company that was much more like a family than a business. And he had surrounded himself with top caliber people, really the best in the business. Roles were well defined. Everyone was focused and rowing in the same direction. And the people I'm speaking about, these were all owners. They weren't managers. They weren't caretakers. They were really all in.
This happened in around 1993 in the Hazelton office. I was sitting at my desk. Mr. Munk came in with some outside people, and he went into his office and he said to me, "I don't want to be disturbed." I said, "Okay, Mr. Munk." So the door was shut so he could have his meeting privately. My phone rang. Well, it rang all the time, but it rang and I picked it up. And a voice at the other end said, "Prime Minister Brian Mulroney would like to speak to Mr. Munk." And I thought, I've got to interrupt. I can't just take a message for this one. So I knock on his door, come in. So I went in. Everyone looks up at me, of course, and he looks up, doesn't look pleased. He said, "What is it, my dear?" And I said, "Mr. Munk, I have the Prime Minister on the phone." And do you know what he said to me? "Which Prime Minister?"
One clear memory I have is that he was so passionate about speaking about the company that he would hit the top of the podium with his fist to emphasize points. And sometimes it would be 5 times during his remarks. Sometimes it would be as many as 20 times during his remarks. And Bell Mulligan tried to come up with a solution and had me build a small pad that we would carry around in my briefcase in Europe. And just prior to any given presentation, I would be responsible for making sure that the pad got set up on top of the podium so that when he hit it, the microphones wouldn't pick up such a loud bang. It became somewhat of a quiet joke, and to this day, I'm not really sure he knew we were doing this the whole time.
I bet you they would, because I remember, and my son would say, "Daddy, you can't lecture to the world. You're not some god." But I do, because I believe in what I'm saying. I really do. And I knew that Barrick was right. I knew that we had the best people
The space at Hazelton on the second floor, where Bob Smith and Greg Wilkin and Alan Hill's office was, they were virtually facing onto each other, and the sense of trust and camaraderie between the three of them, Bob being the president and Alan Hill being responsible for essentially building Gold Strike, and Greg, of course, being responsible for all of the financial aspects of the company. It was a real sense of partnership in a large endeavor.
They created an area of trust, and the trust kept on going down all the way to the miners. We brought in programs. We educated miners' children. Those kinds of things went beyond just who is grabbing the most amount of money.
Barrick was generous in making sure that long-term incentives were available to all of the employees, like literally all of the employees in the early days. And that made everybody feel like working the extra hours and being part of the team. And there was never a question about, well, this isn't my job. The sense of partnership between all of the people involved in the early days, say the 40 people that were in the offices at Hazelton Lanes, translated into a real sense of family. You go to the Christmas parties together, you have luncheons for people when they have a child, or people show up at funerals to help each other through things. And that can't stay. But that sense of trust and partnership, you can still maintain that as a company grows.
As sad as it is for everybody, not to have Peter here in person, he hasn't left the company. And I think that we'll benefit from his direction, guidance, and his example long into the future.
There was a total commitment to the objective. We got all very excited. It was a group of people who, initially 3 and then 6 and then 9 and then 20, all of them committed to the idea of creating a constellation of a mining company that's not run as a mining activity, but as a business for shareholders. We were creating a Canadian icon.